welcome back to my channel. Today I've got, for those of you who are new here, my name's Millie and I'm a calligrapher and small business owner. Today I've got a really exciting unboxing and review video for you, and I just can't wait to get started with this video. For full transparency before we dive in, so the pen that I'm reviewing today has been made by a lovely small business called Tom Studio. And I am actually now an ambassador for Tom Studio, which is really exciting. It means that I can give you guys a lovely discount, so you can get 10% off. I'll be sure to leave that in the description below if you want to buy one of these pens that I'm reviewing today, or if there's other things on his website that you like the look of. So that'll get you 10% off, but I will earn a little bit of money at the same time, so it's an affiliate code, but obviously it saves you money. It's a little bit of a win-win situation. Although I am one of Tom Studio's ambassadors, I will be completely honest with my opinions. I like to be as transparent as possible and as honest as possible when I do all of my reviews, regardless of whether I'm working with a brand or not. So this is going to be a first impression, so you'll see me unboxing the pen and using it for the first ever time, so we'll see how easy it is to use from the beginning. The pen is called the Spark and it's so exciting. It's basically a fountain pen, but you can change the nibs of the pens, and one of the nibs you can use is like a dip pen style nib, so you can do thick and thin lines like in calligraphy. However, it uses a kind of ink cartridge, which means you don't have to keep dipping your nib in the ink, which just like blows my mind. I'm so excited by it and I really can't wait to try it out. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is just to dive into this video and let's get started. So as I've already mentioned, I haven't used this pen yet. So we're going to unbox it together and we're going to use it together for the first time. So before we unbox, let's just take a little closer look at how beautiful this packaging is. Tom Studio's packaging is always stunning. Let me show you some of the other boxes that I have. So this is the Flourish pen. I believe he changes these up every so often, but have you seen a more blink lettering box? Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it so much. And then this one was my carrot pen, and I just love all the little details on it, and the gold foil is just beautiful. So these two actually slide out like this, and it's so satisfying. However, this box is slightly different. So with this box, we've got this beautiful sleeve all the way around it. Again, obsessed with the colours. They are so beautiful. And I love this detail on the front as well. And then he's just used one of his stickers to hold it together, but you can just slide it off. And part of the reason he's created this sleeve is because there's actually instructions on the inside. But we're going to have a little look in the box first before we open those instructions. And as I said, I've not used this pen before, so I haven't even looked at these yet. What I wanted to show you is how easy it was to use this pen just as soon as you get it delivered. So we've got this beautiful white box, and again, some gorgeous gold detail foiling on the front. And then this just slides off. Again, very satisfying. And inside we have the Spark pen. And I think you can understand why I decided to go for this colour. It is absolutely beautiful. All of Tom's boxes come with this kind of fold inside, which is so gorgeous. There's some nice embossing here of his logo. And then I just love that you can unfold it and there's a little bit more information about Tom on the other side. And also his wife Gemma, who's a calligrapher. It's just all these tiny details. I mean, oh my god, that is beautiful. This is so beautiful. All these tiny details are just, I just love them so much. I'm going to pop that back in here. And as you can imagine, these boxes are just really lovely to store the pens in as well, because they are quite expensive pens. They're expensive because they're beautifully made and they're 100% worth the money, but obviously because they are a lot of money, you don't want to just shove them in a pen pot with all of your other pens. You want these to be kept really nice and for special occasions. So before we open these instructions, let's have a little look at the pen. So firstly, you can see that it's in this lovely turquoise teal colour. You can get it in a few different colours, including rose gold, and I believe you can get the kind of, it's called Joy, where it's dip dye from teal to pink, which is also beautiful. On the end here is this gold cap, and I watched an Instagram video the other day from Tom where he was saying that it's, oh no, it wasn't on Instagram, it's on the product page on his website where it's actually helps with the balance. So it's quite weighty, that little bit there, but when you pop it at the end of your pen, it helps balance the pen perfectly, so it sits in your hand really nicely, and I can feel that feels comfortable, and it's just sitting there. And in terms of this lid, I love the fact that you just have to screw it off and on. Again, it just makes it feel like super luxurious and special, and kind of you're taking your time over using this pen. Now, before I dive into the rest of the pen, I am going to open up the instructions just so I get it right, because I think there's lots of fine details that Tom has come up with this pen. So we've got Spark Creativity. Again, this is just beautiful how it's all put together. So it says here, I recommend you flush your Spark pen thoroughly before use with nib cleaner, distilled water or water with a tiny amount of dish soap, then flush thoroughly with clean water and dry. Next, firmly push the ink converter into the pen grip. If you prefer, you can use ink cartridges. I do actually have some ink cartridges, and they're quite cool, funny colours as well. Fun colours. I recommend using the converter as it feeds the pen with more ink, which makes for a more smoother, more consistent writing experience. So let's just open this up so we can have a little look at it first. So you just unscrew this top bit here, and eventually inside, so this is the ink converter, so it looks like it will go in this way, and you can just push it in there. So that's put into the top of the pen, and then we need to be able to fill this up with ink. But what I'm going to do first is follow these initial instructions where it says about flushing your Spark pen thoroughly. So I'm going to go off and do that because it'll be a little bit tricky to do on camera. Before I do, I just wanted to chat about the nibs. So I thought it'd have a little bit more information about the nibs here, but it doesn't. So let me just get my phone a second. Hopefully you can see that, but basically what's really special about this Spark pen is you can actually change the nib, so you can change what nib you're using. So here are the different examples of the nibs that you can get. So there's the Pro Flex, which is kind of like the Nico G nib for dip pen calligraphy. I think it probably is because it does say G on the nib. And then you've got Semi Flex, so that's similar to, I believe, his Sumi pen. And then you've got the Fine, Medium, Italic and Architect. So I have been given, I'm not entirely sure which nib this is. So this is the Semi-Flex, because I can see it doesn't have the hole here. So this is the Semi-Flex, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It actually says Tom Studio on the nib, and it is so beautiful. I've also been sent the Prototype Flex nib. Now, I believe these are just prototypes at the moment, but they are available in a shop. But the real deal is coming this month. It's pretty sure that's what it says on his website. It doesn't have his logo on it, it just says a G, so I think it is like the Nico G nibs. But unlike the Nico G nibs, it's got this kind of reservoir here, I guess. And this is where the ink will sit when you are using it, so you don't have to keep dipping your pen in ink, which is so exciting. So to change the nib, all you need to do is untwist this top bit. So it's good idea to hold this top bit here, and you just untwist where the nib is, like so, and then you can just pop this one in instead. How cool is that? Which means that you can just buy one of these pens, but if you want to change up your style, then you can just get the new nibs, and I believe the new nibs are £15 each. So yeah, you don't have to decide which style you want to write with. You just buy the pen itself and then you can change up the nib, which I think is such a good idea. Although I kind of want the other colour pens too, so you know, might have to buy all of them. Oh no. I accidentally just pulled that out, so it looks like the nib does pull out, and I'm not entirely sure if it's meant to do that. So I'm just going to put that back in for now. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start off with this nib, which is the semi-flex. I've not used one of his semi-flex nibs before, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. But as I said, I'm going to go off and clean this, and then we'll look at inking it up. Right, I'm back. I have flushed the nibs, I've cleaned them, and now it's time to ink up. So, before I actually go into inking up, I just wanted to flag to you guys that although these are calligraphy pens and we have a calligraphy style nib, you're not actually meant to use calligraphy ink for this. Fortunately, I have the perfect ink already, so ideally you want to use fountain pen ink, or as already said, you can use an ink cartridge as well, which normally go in fountain pens. Now, the ones that Tom recommends are these ones actually, which are the Diamine. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And they come in loads of different colours, and he actually sells them on his website. So if you are looking to get on these pens and you're like, I don't have any fountain pen ink, then you can get this ink at the same time, which is a bonus. The one I have is called Pink Glitz, and it is sparkly, which is very exciting. I haven't really used this that much, so it's great to have a good excuse to use this. I'm just shaking it up because it's got loads of sparkles and gold in it. Okay, so now I've shooken that up. We've got some instructions here. Oh, have a soft cloth handy. I have a cloth, okay. I need to move the lovely white box out of the way as well so I don't get that ink on that. So it says dip your entire nib in your ink. So although this is a calligraphy pen that you do not need to dip, it's more a case that you don't need to dip after a few letters. So you will need to dip it initially to draw up the ink, but once the ink is drawn up, it works like a fountain pen. So it is a calligraphy pen that you don't need to dip. So dip the entire nib in your ink and twist the end of the ink converter. So this bit. Twist the end of the ink converter anti-clockwise to draw the ink into the clear chamber. Then twist clockwise to empty. Repeat until little or no air bubbles remain. Finally, twist the converter a little to push the ink down into the nib and wipe off any excess. Now you're ready to start writing. And there is a little note here as well, just to make sure that you're using fountain pen ink and not calligraphy ink. So I'm going to start off with the semi-flex nib. So I'm just going to, got that all wrong. Let's screw that in there first. Okay, we're screwing the semi-flex in here. And then I need to put the ink converter. Push it down like that. Just like you would with an ink cartridge, I guess. And then we're going to dip it in here. Hopefully I won't get ink everywhere. So I want to try and get this so you can see what's going on. So hopefully you can. So I'm going to dip the nib in here. And then I need to do it in an anti-clockwise direction. So that's this direction. Oh, okay, so I've just managed to pull it out. I think I probably need to hold it. So that's actually going in a clockwise direction. So twist the end of the ink converter in an anti-clockwise direction. I'd say that's clockwise to me. So that's a little bit confusing. So I've twisted in this direction, and hopefully you can see now that there's ink here in the barrel. And I also have ink all over my hands, and I've just remembered that this ink stains really badly. So hopefully it won't stain my pen too much. Uh-oh. So then I'm just going to go down, and basically I need to keep doing that until there's no air bubbles. So you basically just twist it one way and then you twist it the other way, and I think we'll just do it once more. Very cool. And there we have it. Right, I'm just going to wipe off all of this ink. 2 seconds, I just need to sort out my hands. Okay, it's just gonna stain my hands, but that's fine. We're gonna put the lid tightly on that because I do not want that getting anywhere. And then we're gonna pop this in here. Screw that down. And I'm going to pop the lid on the end so we can get that nice weight to it. So there is a whole section here for flex nibs. I think that's more focusing on this one. This is just the semi-flex, so I'm just going to give it a go. We're going to write with it, see what it's like. I'm just using some super smooth paper. I'll leave a link for this in the description below. And we're just going to give this a go. I guess the word spark is a must. So as I mentioned, this is a semi-flex, so it flexes really lightly. You can hardly see the contrast between the thick and the thin lines, but I have to say it writes so smoothly. I kind of just want to write all my notes at work using this pen now. That's so pretty. The ink feels like it's flowing out really nicely, and the pen just feels really comfortable to hold as well. I'm going to see if I can get a closer angle so you can see how the ink is coming out the nib. So you can see that there's a semi-flex on the nib, so the tines do open up ever so slightly. So you can do some thicker lines and some thin lines. You have to be slightly heavy-handed with it to get the thicker lines. But it's nice if you want to do a kind of more handwriting style of calligraphy, but you just want a little bit of style. And that ink comes out so nicely. That looks beautiful. I'm obsessed. It feels nice, it feels comfortable. So the weight of the pen up here, when I go to write, sometimes if I'm writing with like a normal pen, I go really tight and upright and I'm getting all twisted around, and my handwriting is not the nicest. But the weight of the pen, of the lid, is actually making me hold it a little bit further back. And it's just making me feel a little bit more fluid. So it's a nice cross between like really nice handwriting and calligraphy. I really like this. I feel like it can make my handwriting look nice because my handwriting does not normally look nice. So if I just do my normal handwriting, I say normal, my handwriting changes all the time. So you can see I wrote quite quickly with that, and that felt really comfortable to write quite quickly too. And then if we do my calligraphy, beautiful. I love it. Just gonna pop this on my pen rest. So this pen rest is also from Tom Studio, and I love it. It all goes together so nicely. Right, so we've tested the semi-flex nib. I really like this. I might have to just start using it for like my everyday writing. But I'm really intrigued by this nib, because if this nib works, this could be a massive game changer for when it comes to doing large calligraphy jobs like wedding place names or my calligraphy crackers, because it means that I don't have to keep dipping. I can just write forever and ever. So I'm going to change over the nib now. I assume I can just change the nib with the ink in there. So we're going to give that a go. This could end in disaster. Okay, so I should have probably taken it out because it's just slipped through. So that was a bad idea. I mean, luckily once it's not in there, that ink isn't going anywhere. So can you see it looks like an ink cartridge here? And then this is what you do to draw it up. I'll see if I can do some close-ups of this once I've tested the nib out, just so you can see. Actually, I'm going to do some close-ups of it now while I draw some more ink, because I assume I need to draw some ink through this white bit to get it to work properly with the nib. So let's do some close-ups with that. But firstly, I'm just going to push this in. Like so. That is in, and then we'll get the ink out again. Hang on, I'm just going to give it a shake actually. So can you see at the base of this, it's all kind of settled, and that's the shimmer in it. Oh, I've just seen in here in the instructions, by the way, it says Zebra G. I've been saying it's a Nico G nib. It is a Zebra G nib, which they're very similar nibs, to be honest with you. But I just thought I'd flag that up in case you were wondering. Okay, so let me change the camera angle. So hopefully you'll be able to see this working, but basically I'm going to put the nib in here, and then you twist this. So if you twist it, this is actually anti-clockwise. So if you twist it anti-clockwise, the ink goes in, and then if you twist it the other way, the ink gets drawn up. So you just have to keep doing that until there's no air bubbles. But that's so easy. It also means, I assume, that you can just change ink colours really easily. I'm also intrigued to see if you could like fill half of it up with one ink and then half of it up with another ink and see what happens. I actually only have one colour for this diamine ink, so it's not something I can test out right now, but I might test that out. So if you want to see if I can blend with these pens, then let me know in the comments below and I'll see if I can do a blending video. So I've got that filled up now. You can see it's made this bit all pink and red. I'm just going to wipe off excess. And it's all over my fingers again. Excellent. Right, let me just go wash my hands. I'm just screwing that on like so. And let's give this a go. So that ink's actually already dried. So the ink dries nice and quickly, which is good. Okay. So I'm going to use this like I'd use a normal calligraphy pen. So it feels exactly like a normal calligraphy pen. Okay, so in the instructions it said about what would happen if you were getting train tracks. So you just need to twist the ink, but it looks like it's flowing now. Let's just do some more drills. It feels weird that like I'm not needing to dip. Like I definitely would have dipped my pen by now. That feels so nice. Okay. So, interestingly, I can see this ink is actually bleeding on this paper. So I might need to change paper. It didn't bleed over here, but it is bleeding here. And I wonder if it's because there's a lot more ink going down. So you can see the difference between this semi-flex and this flex nib. You can do a lot thicker downstrokes and upstrokes. Yeah, it seems like this ink is not enjoying this paper. I'm not sure if these are two different types of paper now, because it seems to be fine. Let me just test it out on this paper here. That looks so pretty. I've got you tilted at a weird angle, sorry about that. I think this paper must be a bit different. I thought they were the same paper, but they're clearly not. So I'm just going to write the alphabet. Because normally when I write the alphabet, I have to dip several times. And it just blows my mind that I don't need to do that. Now, I've done a video before with Tom Studio. Well, not with him, but like about one of his products, which is called the One Dip Wonder, and it's basically something you add on to your pens and your nibs. That's what I'm trying to say. Can't talk and write. You add it onto your nib, and it's like a little spring, and it holds the ink better, so you don't need to dip. Whereas the idea of this is you never need to dip. Well, you'll just need to do it every so often once the ink runs out. But I can't imagine the ink will run out, and I've just completely messed up this alphabet, haven't I? We'll just pretend that I haven't done that. Okay, so the ink is actually bleeding on here too. So that's something to bear in mind with this flex nib, because it's laying down a lot more ink. You'll need to be considerate of the paper that you're using. I'm just going to get a Rhodia pad because I've got a load of those, and that should work fine with that. So let me just grab that. Okay, I got my trusty Rhodia pad. This is a blank one, so it's not got any dots or anything. So hopefully the super smooth paper will be good. So, okay, so it's not quite working at the moment, and I think that just means that I need to go in and just give it a twist. I'm going to do this over my cloth. So can you see now there's a bit of ink there? So can you see I've used about that much ink, not that much at all. And actually that's also from using the semi-flex one. So I'm just going to push, I guess I just push this down, and I can see, yeah, I can see ink coming out. So now I'm just going to screw that back on, and we're going to go ahead again. So the ink's just coming out so smoothly. So that worked so nicely, and I could write this alphabet, I feel like 100 times before I run out of any ink. There were a couple of moments where I got some train tracks, and I feel like that's purely because I just went a little bit too fast. And to be honest, if you're doing calligraphy, you shouldn't go fast anyway. So one thing I am really intrigued about is this, as I mentioned, this ink stains. I've had this ink on my hands for ages, so I'm intrigued to see how it works with this kind of, I guess, filter is what you call it, and what happens in terms of whether it stains and whether that means that it will mix with other colours. As I mentioned, it's not something I can actually test right now, but I would really like to do a blending video and see if I can blend with this pen, because I'm very intrigued now. But that's just something to maybe consider. However, Tom does recommend these specific inks, so I assume that means that it would be completely fine. Let's chat about the pros and cons. So I absolutely love the feel of this. It feels beautiful quality. I love the little touch of the weight in here. I believe you can actually change this for like a little diamante. You can buy that separately on Tom's website. Colour, obsessed with, matches my branding perfectly. It's so easy to change out these nibs. I really like that. One downside I'd say is it's a little bit messy inking it up. That could just be down to me using it for the first time, a little bit of a rookie with it. To be honest, I've used this ink before with a paintbrush, and I've also used it with a dip pen, and my hands have come out looking exactly the same. So, I mean, if you're a calligrapher and there isn't ink on your hands, are you really doing calligraphy right? So yeah, I absolutely love the feel. I also love the fact that you can easily change the nibs, and I'm really intrigued to see what the other nibs feel like. And also it means that if Tom brings out any other nibs in future, you don't need to buy a whole new pen. I know he's really into like the sustainability and not having so much wastage, which is where the ink converter comes into play as well. I wonder if you can get a variety of ink converters and then you could swap them over like that rather than emptying and refilling. Although it's really quick to empty it and refill, if you were doing a piece that had maybe several different colours, that might be a good way of getting around it. He might have them on his website. If he doesn't, I'll have a little chat with him and see if he can sell those separately too. But yeah, in all, it is a beautiful pen, and I've got ink on it. Okay, it's coming off, that's fine. Overall, it's an absolutely gorgeous pen, and I'm just obsessed with the fact that I don't need to dip my pen in ink. Like, I've just been chatting to you for ages. I've gone and washed my hands, and I can just use this pen straight away. Like, if that was a normal dip pen, the ink would have dried up on the nib. I probably would have to go and cleaned it and then re-dipped it in the ink. But this is just still going strong, and I love it. It's just so nice. So you can see where I'm going too quick, it does the train tracks, and that is just more kind of user error than anything else. And really, you don't want to be going too quick with calligraphy, so you just got to slow it down. I'm obsessed. I'm actually obsessed with this pen. It is beautiful. So that's my little unboxing and initial review for Tom Studio's Spark pen. I'm sure you can agree that it's absolutely beautiful, and all the different colours you can get it in are stunning as well. It's safe to say my hands got pretty messy after that, but that's more down to the ink as opposed to the pen. I think it probably would have been easier for me to have decanted some of the ink into a separate pot that had a bit of a wider mouth, and that would have just made it easier to draw the ink through the nib rather than having to kind of put it in a tiny hole and it will get in the way. I have since rinsed the pen, and you can still see a little bit of the red ink on the nib well area, but it doesn't look like it would run at all if you were to use other ink colours. They aren't going to mix. I am so tempted to get some more colours though and do a blending video, because I think that would be quite cool. I'm intrigued to see how it would work. So overall, I think the pen is beautiful. The attention to detail that Tom has put into this pen with the weight in the lid so it can balance out when it's in your hand. The fact that you can change the nibs is just genius. And also where you store the ink, the fact that you can push the ink out and refill it with other ink straight away is so good. So what I actually did at the end is I emptied all of the red ink out, and then I rinsed it with water, so it just made sure that there was no red ink left in there. But it means that you could swap it over and just use lots of different ink. Whereas normally if you use like a fountain cartridge, you kind of have to use it until it finishes. Otherwise, if you take it out, it will just get everywhere or it'll dry up. So it's just genius, and obviously it's sustainable, which I think is so important. There is a lot of plastic in pens, and the fact that this pen doesn't have that, that is great. In terms of the nib durability, obviously this is just a first impression, so I don't know how well the nibs will last, especially the flex one. If you've done dip pen calligraphy before, you'll know that the nibs can kind of wear out over time and get a little bit scratchy, but you are able to purchase the nibs separately on Tom's Studio website, and also if you wanted to try out any of the other nibs as well, you can obviously get those separately as well. So that means the only thing that you're having to replace with this pen is the nib, which is so much better than having to replace an entire pen. And then in terms of usability, like if you are really enjoying dip pen calligraphy but you're really struggling with dipping it in the ink, then this might be a nice gateway for you. You can just focus on your letter shapes and your drills and not have to worry too much about like dipping the nib. So it means you can just really focus on your muscle memory. Or if you are a professional calligrapher and you've got a lot of big jobs, for example, wedding place names, then it's perfect because you just don't need to dip your nib. It would save you so much time in the long run if you did your calligraphy jobs with this pen. Like, I am definitely going to look into seeing if I can get gold and silver fountain pen ink that I can use in the pen for my crackers. I do crackers every year at Christmas and I do hundreds and hundreds. So if I can save myself time by not having to dip the nib in ink, then yeah, I need that in my life. If you have any questions about this pen at all, then let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer and help you out. And remember that you can get a nice little 10% discount off this pen. You can just head down into the description below, or if you're just on his website, you can use the code BlinkLettering and that will get you 10% off. And I think you need to spend over £30 to get that. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if there's other pens out there that you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments below. I'm always up for getting my hands on lots of different pens, as you can see in the background. I got quite a few, and actually I've got quite a few that I haven't done review videos for, so let me know in the comments below if you've ever seen me use a pen on like Instagram, for example. And if you're not following me on Instagram, head over there. It is Blink Lettering, and it would be great to have you join my little community over there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you very soon. Bye!